James chapter 3 and verse 1 says this, "Not many of you should become teachers, my brothers, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness. Not many of you should become teachers." Or in the King James or some of the older versions, it's master, but it's the same context, the same idea. "My brothers, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness." This is an interesting statement. It's a caution, and I would suggest to you that it was obviously relevant back then, but it is relevant today, and it is relevant to Christians, and it's relevant to the church today. Not many of you should become teachers. What he's saying there, only a few of you should choose to become teachers. And in a sense, he's saying, do not set yourselves up to become teachers in church or in ministry. I will say, I've been in ministry now probably 30 plus years. And I've come across many who want to stand up behind this pulpit and teach. Many people seem to look at what comes with this. They think that there comes this great title, or with it they think that there comes some glory, or they perceive some of the outward benefits that come with teaching and preaching in a church or in the context of Christians. And so there are often many people who want to stand behind this place, stand behind this pulpit, stand behind this podium and preach or teach the body of Christ, not realizing there is huge responsibility that comes with it. And James is saying, hey, be careful. Don't jump into this so quickly. You know, even today, the internet and YouTube has not helped this problem. Because if you watch on the internet and YouTube, you have pastors and teachers portraying the glory of the position without showing the evidence of the cost. You know, I have watched pastors who kind of get up on a Sunday and they show, and if you want to say some of the big churches, some of the big pastors, and they show a day in the life of themselves as a pastor, and boy, does it ever look glorious. I've watched pastors go from their house into their private chauffeured car, get in their chauffeured car, drive to the church. Somebody get out of the car, open the door for them. They walk into their own private entrance into the church. Service is going on. They walk into the entrance, their own private entrance, up onto the stage, onto the platform. The praise and worship just finishes. They walk onto the platform. They speak. I won't say preach or teach because most of it's not preaching or teaching. They speak for about 20, 30 minutes. The crowd cheers. And then they walk off the stage, out their private exits or private entrance, back into their chauffeured car, and then drive home. And so they give this idea of this glorious picture of what being a teacher or a preacher in the church is like. And it's not true. Or you have wannabe Bible teachers on the internet spouting off all their ideas and theology without any sort of accountability. They can just get on the YouTube, post a video of themselves teaching and preaching, and they're not accountable to anybody for what they say or do. And you would know, or you should know this morning, that poor teaching has led to big problems. You could consider all the heresies that have happened in the church, many of the divisions that have happened in the church. Often many of the failures that have happened in the church have been because of teachers who lack godly wisdom and understanding. And so here James gives a warning for those who want to become teachers in the church. By the way, I didn't want to be a pastor. I didn't want to be a preacher. I didn't want to be a teacher in the church. When I was a kid, young person, I didn't want to do this. Love it now. Know where I'm supposed to be at. I know I'm supposed to do this today, but I didn't want to do it. James gives a warning, and Jesus also, it's interesting, in Luke chapter 12 and verse 48 gives a warning. Everyone to whom much was given, of him much will be required. And from him to whom they trusted much, they will demand the more. You could put it this way. If you've been given a lot, you will be expected a lot. And if you've been trusted with much, even more will be expected from you. Many people who want to get into the ministry, who want to have the microphone or stand in front of people, don't understand that you are being entrusted with a lot. And there is a big price, there's a big cost that comes with it. Notice James says this, for you know that he's including himself in this group, saying, hey, we who teach, he knows himself what's coming. We who teach will be judged with greater strictness. In the church, people in a place of leadership or teaching are in a place of accountability as well as great responsibility. And because we have greater responsibility, we will be held to a higher standard and face a greater judgment. We don't like to talk about that as Christians. We did talk about that a little bit before. Christians, people of God, we will be judged. Talk about that in a sec. I mentioned that as pastors or teachers, sometimes people perceive the title or the glory. And by the way, I have no difficulty in honoring somebody in a position or a place of authority or place of pastoring or teacher in a church. I have no difficulty with that. I appreciate the honor that many times people show towards me. But very few people see the trouble that it brings. Let me be honest. You've probably not received the emails or criticisms that I've received at times. Telling me I'm arrogant. Telling me, how could I say that? The loss of relationships that comes sometimes. Friends, family walking away from you. The judgments or the misunderstandings of people that come sometimes. Or the correction that comes, sometimes deservedly so. Sometimes people are just trying to correct you and because they just think they're going to tell the pastor what to do. Or just the weight of responsibility that comes. I understand. When I get up and preach and teach, I understand the eternal weight of responsibility that has been entrusted, if you want to say, into my hands. Listen, I know that God does everything, but God works through people. And there's a weight and a responsibility that comes with that. And because of it, we will face a greater judgment. As Christians, we will be judged. We talked about it, the judgment seat of Christ. This is not determining whether or not you will go to hell. If you are a Christian and saved, you will go to heaven. But there will be a place where we will be judged for what we do in this body. And teachers will stand before the judgment seat of Christ and be judged more strictly than others. I will stand one day before God and give an account for everything that I've taught and preached to his people. It's not going to mean that I'm necessarily, or, I'm not, as I say, not talking about eternal separation from God, but rather the works of ministry being judged as wood, hay, and stubble, and possibly being burned up and of being little value. Every one of us will stand before the Lord and have our works judged. But those who are teachers in the church, those who have that responsibility, will be judged in a stricter, greater sense. It's a sobering thought.